Welcome to New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio, fostering the growth of collaboration through shared resources while empowering families to divorce with dignity. This is New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio.
New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio is brought to you by the Collaborative Divorce Professionals Practice Group, independent interdisciplinary divorce professionals serving Monmouth, Middlesex, and Ocean counties. For more information, visit njcollaborativeprofessionals.com.
Hi, and welcome to New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio. I'm your host, Dustin Cannon. At New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio, we interview leading divorce and family law professionals to give you the information you need to get through your divorce and move on with your life. In today's episode, we're talking about the 10 best New Year's resolutions you can make for you and your child while going through a divorce. And our guests today are divorce attorneys Linda Piff and C. Jannarone. All right, well, Linda Piff, Jannarone, welcome back to New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio.
Thank you. Good to be back on again.
It's a pleasure to be here, Dustin.
So we're talking today about New Year's resolutions for a good divorce. I'm guessing there's a reason that you came up with this title. Can you tell me more about why you wanted to do this show and how you came up with this idea?
Well, we're always considering for ourselves our resolutions for the new year. So it occurred to us that we can help our clients by coming up with 10 New Year's resolutions that will help them move forward and move toward a good, successful divorce. So we thought it was a topic that was newsworthy today because we're entering a new year and we can start planning for that.
Absolutely. So is this geared towards people that are considering divorce, that are already right in the middle of it, or that are post-divorce?
Well, there's such a timeline for divorce. All the time that's leading up to the actual steps that are taken to get a divorce, as people are contemplating it, and as people are having problems and breakdowns in their relationships that seem to get worse with time for one or maybe both of them, through the divorce itself, no matter what the process is, no matter how long it takes, it's still not an easy process. And then a big piece of their lives is after the divorce. And some of the things that we want to talk about is how you live your life after the divorce and how much your divorce is going to color what your life is. So it's really all the way through, leading up to, through the divorce and after. Absolutely,
because, we've, in some prior episodes, a number of professionals have expressed how you can end your marriage, but your family doesn't end.
That's right. Absolutely. Your children are a priority and will always be a priority in your life.
Absolutely. So what is the first of the top 10 New Year's resolutions for a good divorce?
So the first one we came up with was to fulfill your responsibilities to your children. Children have certain rights, and we have to honor those throughout the process. We want our children to grow up healthy, and we want them to live in a family that's not dysfunctional. And we hope for them a future that's bright. And the only way we can ensure that is to fulfill our responsibilities to our children during the divorce process and afterwards.
Some of the things that we think about in fulfilling our responsibility is always keeping in the front of your mind, in your actions and in your words, that your children do have a right to be loved by both parents. They have a right to love both parents, and they have a right to love their parents and have a good relationship with each parent without the guilt or disapproval of the other. And it sometimes is counterintuitive in an angry divorce when you want your children to know how angry you are with the other parent, but it's exactly the wrong thing to do for the children because it hurts them. And if any of these parents who do that were asked, who are the most important people in your world, in your life? It's the children. Who do you least want to hurt in your life? It's the children. They may answer to who do you most want to hurt in your life? It is my spouse or my ex-spouse. But they must remember that when they are bad-mouthing the spouse when they are angry in front of the children about the spouse, when they are disparaging the relationship between the children and the spouse, they're hurting the children. If they realize that, we hope that they can stop, take a step back, and refocus their anger and emotions in different places rather than enveloping their children in that.
Well, I think, isn't that key? You mentioned if they realize that, or because I don't think most people go into a divorce with the intention of hurting their children. I think that most people, wouldn't you say, want to protect the children and shield them from any pain from this process. It probably just it just happens as a byproduct of things that kind of get out of control from an emotional perspective. Would you say that that's true?
I absolutely agree. And what we always see when we ask parents what their goals are in the divorce is for the children to be secure. And they really don't know their unintended consequences of how they act out. The children have a right not to be responsible for the burden of their parents' emotional problems. And everyone going through a divorce has an emotional divorce, a financial divorce, and a legal divorce.
Absolutely.
So the parents aren't really aware of what the conflict's doing to the children. One of the things I explained to my client when they're asking a child in an indirect way to choose one parent over the other, and their anger is expressing dissatisfaction and telling the children how bad the other parent is. Well, the problem with that is, as I explained to my clients, is the children know that they will love their father or their mother under any condition. I tell them even if he's an axe murderer, they love their parents. And they have the DNA of their parents, and they know that in a way that is meaningful to them. So when you're directly insulting and demeaning your spouse, what you're doing is telling the children they're not worthy too. And it's really an emotional conflict that carries through the child for the rest of their life. So I try to express it in a way that the clients can understand, because again, they are going through a very emotional time.
And spouses have the right to choose not to stay married to each other. But the children should not be deprived of the right to have a loving relationship with their parent and the extended family. That just shouldn't happen. And that's exactly what does happen when the parents' anger and bitterness filters down to the kids. And I will never forget this example of a couple who were divorcing, and there was a child specialist involved who was helping the children get through the divorce. And the couple were very proud of the fact that they never argued in front of the children. And they thought they were doing a good job of shielding their children from the problems of the divorce. And then the children were asked by the child specialist as to whether their parents ever were angry with each other in front of them. Did they ever say anything? And the answer to the children that the children gave was that they didn't say words, but they made the angry faces that their parents would make. They imitated the angry faces that the parents would make when they were mad at each other.
Wow.
So even though they were young children, they knew what was going on. So we would like to encourage people to take their anger and their arguments and all that away from the children, totally away from the children, with some self-discipline and with constant reminders that your children are the most important things in the world. People can do that.
And they're paying attention, and they catch things that you could never have imagined that they would.
That's exactly correct.
Children are really smart. You can have a 2-year-old child or a 3-year-old child. They're going to sense the emotions of the parents without even knowing what they're sensing. And it's going to disrupt them. And a 5-year-old is really intelligent. Often clients will tell me, we did sit down and tell the children together about the divorce. And the children's response is, well, we knew that was going to happen. Because they sense what's happening in the household. So they intuit a lot of the emotional conflict that the parents are going through.
My 1-year-old, he just turned 1 on Saturday. he's not talking yet. He said maybe 2 words. And the other day, I was sitting on the couch. He was beside me messing around, and I said to myself kind of out loud to him, I wonder where the skinny remote is. If he didn't get up, toddle over, and get it and carry it to me.
How do you like that?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. He's not even really talking yet. He says Baba and Papa. But, yeah, they're smart. It's amazing. So,
why don't we go to number 2?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, Kathy, why don't you talk about the second resolution that we came up with?
Okay. This is take time for yourself. We strongly urge divorcing people to take time for themselves by pampering themselves during the process. They may feel that they have no time to do so with work, with taking care of the children. They may have separated, so each of them is acting as a single parent when they're with the children. But if they could ensure that they get some rest, some play, some relaxation, they could have a better head for the divorce. They could better handle the ups and downs of the process, the emotions, the disappointments, and also maintain that strong core of peace for the children as best they can. So we suggest that they think of, like when you're on an airplane, the announcement always comes over that if the oxygen mask should drop, place the mask on yourself first before placing the masks on small children with you. If you can't save yourself, you're not going to be able to save your children as you go through this difficult process. So remember to save yourself. Another way to take time for yourself is to enroll in a class to better yourself in your career, for self-enrichment, for something that gives you joy. Maybe making pottery, maybe taking a business class, or maybe taking a secretarial class or an upgrade, an update on computers or something like that, so that you're better able to do more in your career as you move forward as a single person. And it's taking time for yourself. You can't all be for someone else and expect to get through this.
Well, that sounds like a good way to get a start for your future. Clients feel that they really can't spend any money, as Kathy said, because they're going to be looking at 2 different households. But if they pamper themselves once a week, I tell my clients, just find a way to pamper yourself. If not, a manicure, a pedicure, a massage, something self-indulgent. That way it gives you renewed energy to get through the process. And it allows you, again, to have a different ability to deal with the children and the other emotions of the divorce for the next week.
The third tip that we have is to develop a support network. Go to counseling, whether it's individual counseling, whether it's group counseling, or both. When you develop your support network, either through professionals or in combination with friends or like-minded people or like-situated people, you have a safe place to voice your concerns. In a therapeutic session, you have a professional who can aid you in getting through the process. In a group setting, you can hear that other people have survived exactly what you feel you can't possibly survive. So don't be afraid to reach out and get support. If you are going through a horrible divorce, probably your support group as well as your own therapist will be the best choices to get you through this, rather than always talking about your divorce with friends and family who may reach a point where they start to back away. Plus, they don't necessarily have the training to give you the tools to help you get through this.
Yeah, and another point is if you're bringing the emotional issues to your attorney, attorneys are a lot more expensive per hour than a therapist. Yeah. So it's really a cost savings to have a support group available or a support network that you can reach out to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm an exercise nut, so I always talk to my clients about trying to develop some type of exercise program through the divorce process. It's a great way to relieve stress, and it's a great way to clear your mind. So I talk to them perhaps about joining a fitness club close to them, going to a yoga class, looking at YouTube for some meditation techniques. But healthy mind and a healthy body are so important. And as a stress reliever, allow them to be clear-minded and think more clearly after they develop a way to exercise either daily, weekly. But it's really important, I tell them, to at least find 2 hours a week to commit to some type of exercise. And if it's only walking along the beachfront that we have here, that's so lovely.
Yeah.
The next tip is to work on your financial divorce. There are 3 aspects to divorce, 3 parts of divorce: the legal part, the emotional part, and the financial part. The financial part is a very important piece, which really goes without saying. It's not just what's happening now, it's what's going to happen in the future, how each person is going to live, if they have children, how the children are going to live, if they want their children to get higher education, such as college or vocational school, how that will be managed. So what we tell our clients and what we want our listeners to think about is they should, as soon as divorce is sounding like it's going to happen, they should start gathering financial information. They should gather their tax returns for the last several years. They should gather pay stubs. They should gather statements as to all accounts that they have. They should have a full understanding of what the retirement plans are that are available and where the paychecks of each party goes. They may want to start shopping for a new home to sell their existing home. They should investigate the feasibility of that. It's a sad case where someone thinks, fine, we'll sell the home, we'll split the proceeds, I'll buy a new home for myself that's just like this one, only to find out that there just isn't enough money to do that. So before anyone commits to a final plan as to what they'll do with their real estate, they need to investigate how much their house is worth, how much debt is on the house, what would it cost to buy a new home, and think about where they want to be. Those thoughts about where they want to be, of course, would include thoughts of the school system if they have children, the neighbors, because they often have a support system with their neighbors and friendships. So they need to do that. They need to develop a spending plan and start paying attention to what their current budget is and what their prospective budget is. That will help each party decide what kind of financial agreement they can reach that will allow each of them to live as best they can with the resources they do have.
Yeah, and we always want to be certain that the spending plan they develop is something that will be durable. We really don't want to develop an ability for one parent to buy out the interest in house of the other parent, but then not be able to afford it. So I tell my clients, please be careful of what we're wishing for. We really need to look at your budget. We call it a spending plan so people don't think they have to constantly budget. But
right.
We really need to look at your spending plan to make sure you can afford what we're asking for. So a large part of the divorce process is really that planning for the future. Develop a plan, see if we can incorporate some savings for the future in the plan. Let's look at what your retirement assets are that you'll be getting in the marriage and how we can allow that to provide for your retirement future. Really, it's a matter of just educating yourself about the finances. A lot of people come to us and they feel that they've not been educated about the finances during the marriage. And that very well may be the case. But in a collaborative case, we bring in a financial professional to help educate the client and the attorney and the entire team about the finances. So there's no better place to start to educate yourself than the moment that they are in the divorce if they haven't been educated in the past. It's a good way to look toward the future and learn what it is you need and how you can provide for yourself and your children.
And truthfully, everyone should educate themselves about finances, whether they're single, in a perfectly happy marriage, or in a troubled marriage, or in a divorce. You can't plan your future without understanding your finances, without understanding what resources you're going to have through your life. So educating yourselves about finances is a key goal that everyone should really have, and not be totally dependent upon the other, because a loss or a divorce may end the situation you currently have, and you don't want to be where you have no idea how to go on, and no idea how to pay your bills, and no idea how to live and retire and provide for yourself and children that you have.
Yeah.
That is good advice.
Kathy brings up an important point. What I see often in the divorces is that parents want to provide for the college education for their children. As we all know today, college is really expensive. And so I have parents that are in their mid to late 50s worrying about providing for 2 years of their children's college because they're already through 2 years. It can cost $100,000. But what the parents haven't considered is, what does that mean for them? How long are they going to have to work? Do they have to pay back a portion of the student loans for the children? So I find that parents really want to do the right thing for their children in terms of the college education, but sometimes they lose sight of what it means for them in their future. So that's another aspect that we try to educate the parents about and come up with some options. Perhaps the child can pay back a portion of the student loan. How can you be 100% responsible for that and still maintain a life of your own? Are you going to be eating peanut butter for the rest of your life because you're making this commitment in your divorce to continue to provide for your children's college? It's really something that we have to hit home on with the parents because it's something they don't fully consider when we're discussing the finances.
Right.
People also need to understand that when they co-sign for anyone, that's just as if the debt is their own. If the person they're co-signing for does not pay, the co-signer is called upon to pay. That's just the way it is. So parents who may blithely say, we're not worried, we'll co-sign the loans, they'll pay when they get out of college. If they don't pay, the parents will have to pay, and that may become tremendously problematic if no realistic budget is placed on college costs and there's no effort to contain them.
Yeah, not only that, Kathy, if in fact they co-sign, it's on their credit report.
Absolutely.
So now we have parents that are newly divorced looking to get a home, but they're being denied because they have a large obligation that appears on their credit report for co-signing for student loans of their children. And the parents really aren't aware of the impact, so we usually bring in a mortgage broker to help express to them how important it is that their credit report not have these inferences that they have an obligation to pay in the future if they want to buy a home.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Number 6, right?
Yeah, number 6. We're up there. Don't let the bad behavior of others determine your own. Boy, is it easy to be in a 4 or 5-way conference with both parties, both attorneys, and the divorce coach. One spouse starts acting out. It's so easy to want to retaliate for the other spouse. But I say don't return the harm when someone's harmed you. It's better to not do unto others in that circumstance as they do unto you. It's easy to have an emotional reaction, but those words last forever. So we try to help them with the collaborative spirit to mirror what we are displaying as attorneys. Bad behavior returned is never good karma returned.
I even try to teach my client phrases to say, such as, I hear you, or thank you for sharing that, or let me think about that, or I will discuss that with my attorney, rather than firing back. Sometimes thank you for sharing that is a little bit sarcastic, which has its place. But if you can maintain a neutral response to a hostile comment, you can move on in the discussion. If instead you fire back, you're too busy with the skirmish to make any progress in your case. And if you're in a setting like Linda described with your professionals in the room, the professionals are there on the clock while the skirmish goes on. So if people can actually practice making neutral responses to hostile comments, they can hopefully divert the conversation away from the skirmish and move on to substantive issues.
And we always encourage them to be forward-thinking. So rather than demean the spouse for what occurred 5 years ago, let's not. Let's think about what's happening in your future. Let's start speaking in terms of future, not past. And that helps sometimes, too, to get them refocused on the direction that we wish to take them in the divorce.
It helps a lot. You know, I've said many, many, many times, talk about today. Let's talk about today. Let's talk about what we're going to do going forward. And if people want to rehash all the big things, bad things that happened, they could do that with their counselor so they could get past them. And they could not think about them and not be consumed by them. But in terms of getting through your divorce and having a good divorce, and by good divorce, it means a lot of things, but it means to come out emotionally healthy, to have your children emotionally healthy, to be able to move on with your life. To do that, you can't be mired in the past. You can't spend undue time in rehashing all the bad things that happened that got you to this point.
Well, just remind them that you bill by the hour.
Well, we do. Sometimes we add up the hourly rate of everybody in the room, and that usually stops the fighting.
So that's a good segue for Kath leading into resolution number 7, working on the emotional divorce. We really need our clients to commit to start healing today. The fact that they're carrying a grudge forward against what will become an ex-spouse. The ex-spouse is not feeling that grudge. It's not impacting their life. It's really only impacting your life. So we tell them their life's important and only they can determine what the future holds for them. So work on the emotional divorce. Resolution number 7.
That was 7. Now 8. Prepare for the other divorces that occur with the legal divorce. What, you say? Legal divorce, when you think of it, is a series of mini divorces. You are divorcing your spouse. You are divorcing your spouse's family. You are divorcing friends that you had together. You may be divorcing neighbors that you had if there's a move. There are many, many divorces that actually occur when a marriage ends. How you deal with those divorces is going to determine how healthy you are as you move on. We want our listeners and our clients to attempt to maintain good relationships with their in-laws. Why, you say? The parents of the devil? The reason you want to do that is because you want to do it for the sake of your children. Just like we said, yes, you could choose not to have a spouse. Your children should not be forced not to have a parent. Your children should not be forced not to have grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, all those people in their lives. Let them all love the children. Let the children all love them. So if you have to bite your tongue when maybe your soon-to-be ex-mother-in-law makes a snarky comment, you bite your tongue. You bite your tongue for the end result. It's not worth the skirmish. So let these relationships stay good and foster those relationships. Let the in-laws have time with your kids. Let them be a resource for your kids. You know, when people fight about who's going to have the children for the birthday, I always say, what kid would not want 4 birthday parties? Each of you have a birthday party. Let each grandparent have a birthday party. Have 18 birthday parties. Have 4 Christmases. It's all okay. Don't fight about those things. They don't want to be in the middle where each parent is pulling an arm. That shouldn't be like that. Reach out to new neighbors to form new relationships. Be open to new friendships with singles and with other couples. You may find that after your divorce, some friends that you thought were wonderful friends are gone. They may be gone because they felt they had to maintain a relationship with only one of you. They may love you both, but they're only able to maintain a relationship with one of you. You may find that sometimes it's not as comfortable being a single person with couples. But don't let it devastate you. There are more people there. There are more friends to make. And if you are not friends with people because of your divorce, well, maybe that's a good thing. So be open to new friends and new relationships.
And often people come in our lives, and they're not there forever. They come into our lives, they enrich them for the time they're in there, and they go. So the devastation that you may feel because a friend has left your relationship circle may have been something that would have occurred anyway. Just be thankful and understand that new people come into your life and enrich your life in many ways as well. Often what we hear is parents, spouses want to badmouth the other spouse. They'll tell their relatives, they'll tell their neighbors, they'll tell the parents of the children that go to school together. Anybody that'll listen, they'll badmouth. And that's really, people don't want to hear that. They don't want to be involved in the middle. More particularly, the children should not hear that. So we try to refocus again on the good things in life, including a peaceful life. People need peace. They want to be in an environment that's peaceful. Many times clients express that. So focus on that. Focus on how you achieve that. Focus on the love for your children and the fact that you have healthy children and that you're healthy.
And definitely keep that stuff off Facebook.
Oh, by all means.
Absolutely.
Facebook is somewhat of a devil in terms of what you're putting on there, the pictures you're putting on there. I've had people put pictures of their children on Facebook when they're bad-mouthing the other spouse. You know, it's children's pictures do not belong on your Facebook page when you have something to say about your spouse. And quite frankly, people are startled that a spouse will find out about perhaps them having a relationship with another person. I don't know why they become so startled when they've placed it on Facebook. I mean, as you know, Dustin, I'm sure you can help us appreciate the media, the social media is not a place to find out about what's happening in your marriage or how you feel about what's happening in your marriage.
Yeah.
Don't check into a restaurant with your new girlfriend before your wife knows you're getting divorced. It's just best to keep those things private. And if people ask you, why are you getting a divorce? There's nothing wrong with just saying, it just didn't work out, but I have these beautiful children. That's all you have to say. It just didn't work out. You don't have to go into details. He cheated, she cheated, and any other kind of intimate details. It just didn't work out. And leave it at that.
Good advice.
And there's only 2 degrees of separation, usually in the county in which we live. So checking into a restaurant is a perfect example of someone's going to see you and someone's going to report to your spouse, or someone's going to hold off that reporting, but when they find out about a divorce, you're going to hear what happened in the last 12 months or 24 months. So yeah, a really good idea to be discreet is what we're talking about.
And on the topic of taking the high road, there's really an overriding theme that we want to express, is the ex-spouses who forgive each other, who agree to forget what has happened, and who maintain cordial relationships with one another, do such a better job in co-parenting their children and in thinking about people you know who are divorced. And every listener can do that. Make a list of everyone you know who's gotten divorced. Make a list and include whether or not they continued hostilities with one another, or if they moved on and maybe they were able to be at family functions together with the new people in their lives and their ex-spouses. And think about who's got the happy and fulfilled life and who maybe is stuck in an angry past. And if you think about that, like I did when we came up with this, it's pretty startling. And there's just no return in being enveloped in the what-ifs, in the bitterness, in the anger that's in the past, instead of focusing forward and saying, how can I have a good life for me? And if you have children, how can I help my children have a good life and a productive life? So it's a move forward, take the high road kind of theme that we really have here and that we want our listeners to think about.
Definitely moving forward is the theme, as you can tell from many of these resolutions. We want you to think about what your future life is like and what you want it to look like. So that's our resolution number 9, but really ties into resolution number 10. Set goals. Can you imagine getting in your car and putting on your GPS and you want to go on a trip, but you can't tell the GPS where you're going because you don't know? Well, how would the GPS ever get you any place? So you can't get there if you don't know where you're going, but that's the same with your life. I encourage my clients, we have a sheet we hand out. It's goal sheet. I tell them it's like the Cliff Notes of goals, but it's 7 pages. So because they're going through a divorce, it's often difficult for them to verbalize exactly what their goals are. So we start out the process with circling what goals they think they would like for their future. And then we develop the goal sheet a little bit further by looking at where they want to be in 30 days, where they want to be in 90 days, 6 months, a year. Then we work further on, okay, that's where you want to be. Now, what do we do to get you there? So it's really just a matter of divorce planning, but goal setting. And
just with the GPS, just because you've maybe not started out well doesn't mean that you can't make a change now and start doing those things now. Because, with GPS, you ever notice if you make a wrong turn, it doesn't get mad at you and say, "You idiot, what are you doing?" It just says recalculating. Okay, you made a wrong turn. Let's figure out where we need to go from here now. So
that's absolutely right. That's a good example and a good analogy, Dustin, because even myself, I am married, but I find it important every January 2nd or 1st or 2nd to do my goals for the year. And it's so amazing when you look back on December 31st and look at your goals for the last year, how much you can achieve just by working toward a definite destination.
And as we conclude this podcast, Dustin, what I'd like to do is circle back to collaborative divorce. Collaborative divorce is what Linda and I have both committed our practices to be in terms of our matrimonial practice. And in collaborative divorce, all the things we talked about in this podcast are the things we focus on when we're with our clients, when we're with the team, as we help our clients get through the divorce. We consider the goals of both sides. We make sure that the children's needs, the children's feelings, and the future of the children are placed as a top priority. We don't do these divorces as a way of who will win and who will lose, who will pump their fist and emerge victorious with the settlement. We consider the family project of getting a divorce. We consider what the future will be and how we can help our clients have the best possible future, both clients. I care about my clients. I care about Linda's clients. I want to help them both have a good future. Linda practices the same way in her collaborative practice. And as a result, when we finish, it is our goal, and we hope we achieve it with our clients, that they come out of the process and they feel better about where they're going to go. They feel better about where they were, and they can feel better about each other, and their family is better as a result of this, as opposed to what sometimes turns out to be scorched earth practices of the litigation system through the courts.
They also have a more durable agreement. That agreement will last. They've learned to communicate. They can problem solve. So very often they're problem solving because they've learned that skill by themselves without the assistance of collaborative attorneys going forward. They also are satisfied with the process and trust the process. So they've learned communication skills in it too that they carry forward in their life. Because with a divorce coach involved, she's helping the entire room learn how to communicate more effectively. And there's nothing more important than communication, particularly if you have children together.
We could go on, but we made a list of only 10, and we have gone through our list.
And we thank you for having us on the show today.
Thank you. This is very good advice.
And Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy and healthy New Year to all.
We have been talking today with divorce attorneys Linda Piff and C. Jannarone on the subject of best New Year's resolutions you can make for you and your child while going through a divorce. For those of you listening, you can get the show notes and learn more about today's guest at NewJerseyDivorceTalkRadio.com. Now, I also want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Collaborative Divorce Professionals. You can learn more about the Collaborative Divorce Professionals at njcollaborativeprofessionals.com. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and we will see you in our next episode of New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio. Thank you.
New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio is brought to you by the Collaborative Divorce Professionals Practice Group, independent interdisciplinary divorce professionals serving Monmouth, Middlesex, and Ocean counties. For more information, visit njcollaborativeprofessionals.com.
New Jersey Divorce Talk Radio, empowering families to divorce with dignity.